You know, some civilizations rise and fall. They just vanish. But others, they're different. They endure. Today, we're going to dive into the absolutely incredible story of one of those, Persia. It's a civilization defined by this constant, wild cycle of total destruction and spectacular rebirth.
Yeah, this quote, it just nails it, right? We're talking about Persia, which is basically modern-day Iran. And get this, it's been a major power since before Rome was even founded, and it doesn't matter who tried to conquer it. Greeks, Arabs, Mongols, it always rose from the ashes. So the big question is, how? How did they pull that off?
All right, so to really get a handle on Persia's amazing resilience, we've got to start with geography. I mean, for thousands of years, its entire history was basically shaped by this deep-seated conflict between two super different groups of people living right next to each other.
Okay, so picture this. On one side, you've got the plain people in what's now Iraq. Think populous, sophisticated farming cultures built around rivers. And then, on the other side, you've got the mountain people in what's now Iran. These were semi-nomadic folks, living in the tough Zagros mountains, harder people, rougher people. And this push and pull, this cycle of conflict and domination between the mountains and the plains, believe it or not, that's a story that's been playing out for something like 6,000 years. So it's out of this very dynamic that the first great Persian Empire bursts onto the scene. And with it, a ruler who would literally change the world, Cyrus the Great. See, Cyrus didn't just conquer stuff. No, he created a whole new blueprint for how to run an empire, and one that was unbelievably durable.
So what was his secret sauce? Well, it was this absolutely brilliant administrative system. First, he divides the empire into provinces and puts regional governors called satraps in charge. Smart, right? But then, to make sure they stayed loyal, he set up this network of spies, awesome name, the King's Eyes, to keep tabs on them. And to tie it all together, he built the Royal Road, complete with a postal system for super fast communication. This wasn't just about power, you see, it was about making things work. The Persians standardized everything, currency, taxes, weights and measures, and it made their massive empire run like a well-oiled machine for over 1,000 years.
But honestly, what really set Cyrus apart was his whole approach, his policy of tolerance. I mean, when he conquered Babylon, what's the first thing he does? He frees the enslaved Israelites and lets them go home. This was such a huge deal that he's actually praised in the Hebrew Bible as a Messiah. That's the only time a non-Jewish person gets that title. It just shows you he wasn't seen as a conqueror, he was seen as a liberator.
And this empire wasn't just well managed, it was, wow, so advanced for its time. We're talking incredible engineering feats, like underground canals called kenets to get water in the desert, and these ancient domed refrigerators called yakshals for storing ice. Ice! They developed one of the world's very first monotheistic religions, Zoroastrianism. They even pioneered early concepts of human rights, ideas that would inspire thinkers like Thomas Jefferson centuries later. And get this, especially for the ancient world, women had significant rights. They could own land, run their own businesses, travel freely, things that were just unthinkable in places like ancient Greece.
So for a solid 200 years, Persia is the world superpower, no question. But its first great test, its first real challenge, was about to come from the West, and it was coming in the form of a young Macedonian king, a guy who actually admired Cyrus but was dead set on surpassing him.
And what happens next is just breathtakingly fast. I mean, look at this timeline. In just 4 years, a guy we now call Alexander the Great, with a pretty small army, takes the largest empire on the planet and brings it to its knees. He rolls through Phoenicia and Egypt, wins these massive battles, and it all ends with the burning of the imperial capital Persepolis. So you have to wonder, how on earth was that even possible?
Well, the answer really wasn't just about tactics or numbers, it was about leadership, pure and simple. You have Alexander, who always led the charge, from the front, right there with his troops, inspiring this insane loyalty. And then, you have the Persian Emperor Darius III. This guy, he led the retreat from the back. He was the first one to flee the battlefield, not once, but at 2 decisive battles, and both times his own much larger army just collapsed because of it.
And that right there is the key. You hear a lot of historians talk about a declining Persian Empire, but the evidence just doesn't really back that up. The empire wasn't weak, it wasn't falling apart, it just had the absolute worst luck imaginable.
It ran into a once-in-a-millennium military genius while being led by a total coward.
So, okay, Alexander conquered Persia's armies, for sure, but he couldn't conquer its culture. Not even close. The phoenix, remember? It was about to rise again. And what happens next is so fascinating because the Greeks who stayed behind to rule, they slowly but surely started becoming Persian themselves.
And a perfect symbol of this comeback comes from a group called the Parthians. They were a nomadic Iranian people who eventually kicked the Greeks out, and their signature move? The famous Parthian shot. They'd pretend to retreat on horseback, and then, just when the enemy was chasing them, they'd turn in their saddles and fire a volley of arrows backward. It was devastating. And for almost 500 years after, the Parthians and then the Sasanians who followed them, both Iranian peoples, they revived Persian culture, they went toe-to-toe with the Roman Empire, and they proved that the heart of this civilization was still beating strong. That Parthian shot, it wasn't just a military tactic, it was a statement. It was resilience in action.
And this right here, this reveals the real secret to Persia's incredible durability. You start to see this pattern emerge over and over again. A ruling dynasty gets weak, nomadic invaders sweep in and take over. But, and this is the crucial part, instead of destroying everything, they just adopt the system that's already there. The Persian bureaucracy, the culture, the way of doing things, it was just so good, so effective, that it ended up absorbing the conquerors, not the other way around.
Now this power of cultural absorption, it had its biggest and most important moment after the Arab conquest, which brought the religion of Islam to Persia. You might think, okay, this is it. This is where the old culture gets erased. But nope, the exact opposite happened. Persian culture became the engine for one of the greatest intellectual booms in all of history.
Honestly, you could argue that the Islamic Golden Age was, in so many ways, a Persian Golden Age. The new capital of the Caliphate, Baghdad, it was built right in the heart of the old Persian Empire. The new rulers adopted Persian administration wholesale. It was Persian scholars who preserved all those ancient Greek and Roman texts. Even famous stories we all know, like Aladdin and Sinbad, they come from Persian texts. Persia basically became this vital bridge, carrying knowledge and ideas from the east all the way to the west.
But the story isn't over. Persia would have to face one last, truly apocalyptic test. In the 14th century, the conqueror Timur, you might know him as Tamerlane, swept through. And his campaigns were so unbelievably brutal, they may have killed 17 million people. Let that sink in. That's an estimated 5% of the entire world's population at the time. Just staggering.
I mean, these invasions destroyed everything. Cities, those incredible irrigation systems, libraries full of knowledge. For a lot of people living through it, it must have felt like the end of the world. And yet, what happened? Unbelievably, the Persian phoenix rose from the ashes. Once more, it reestablished itself within its familiar borders under new Persian dynasties.
Which really leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? When we think about the foundations of our modern world, our minds usually jump to Greece or maybe Rome. But the story of Persia, it kind of forces you to ask a different question. How many of our modern ideas, everything from human rights to monotheism, from algebra to administration, actually started right there, on the Persian plateau, with this unbelievably resilient civilization that just refused, time and time again, to ever be erased?